Learn English through story. A dangerous seduction. In the city of Rthavar, known for its opulent mansions and dark alleys alike, life moved at a feverish pace. It was a city of extremes: wealth and poverty, joy and despair, hope and corruption. Nestled in the heart of this city, behind a veil of grandeur and power, lived a woman named Alina. Her beauty was legendary, her charm irresistible, and her influence pervasive. Alina was known to be a woman who could capture the hearts of men, break them, and then walk away without so much as a backward glance. She was a master of seduction, and it had become her way of surviving in a world that had shown her no kindness. But beneath the allure of her smile and the fire in her eyes, Alina carried a secret, one that had shaped her life and led her down a path she never thought she would take. Her dangerous seduction was not just a game of power, it was a carefully crafted shield, one she had used for years to protect herself from the harsh realities of her past. Years ago, Alina had been a different woman. She had grown up in the slums of Rthavar, where hunger and desperation were constant companions. Her parents had died when she was young, leaving her to fend for herself on the streets. It was there that she learned the art of survival. Beauty, she realized early on, was a currency. Men were willing to do anything for a glimpse of it, and Alina had learned to wield that power with precision. At first, it had been innocent enough. She charmed her way into the good graces of shopkeepers, persuading them to give her food and clothing in exchange for her attention. But as she grew older, she realized that her beauty had the potential to unlock far greater doors. She could enter the world of the wealthy, the powerful, and the elite. All she had to do was make the right men fall for her. It wasn't long before Alina found herself mingling with the city's upper class, attending lavish parties in shimmering gowns, her laughter echoing through rooms adorned with crystal chandeliers. She became a fixture at the side of wealthy men, their wives either absent or unaware of her presence. And in this world, Alina thrived. But for all her charm, for all the power she seemed to hold over these men, there was always a part of her that felt hollow. She had created a person, a woman who was desired, admired, and envied. But the real Alina, the one who had suffered on the streets, the one who had been abandoned and left to fend for herself, was hidden behind layers of seduction and manipulation. And the more she immersed herself in this world, the more she felt herself slipping away. One evening, at a particularly extravagant party hosted by a well-known politician, Alina met a man named Dev. He was unlike the others she had encountered in her carefully curated world. Dev was quiet, observant, and exuded a quiet confidence that intrigued her. He wasn't rich, at least not in the way that most of the men she associated with were, but there was something about him that drew her in. They crossed paths near the bar, where Alina, as usual, was surrounded by admirers. But Dev wasn't interested in joining the throng of men fawning over her. Instead, he stood at a distance, watching her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. It wasn't the kind of gaze she was used to, the lustful, eager stares of men who saw her as a prize to be won. No, Dev's eyes held something deeper, something darker. Intrigued, Alina approached him, her signature smile firmly in place. "Enjoying the party?" she asked, her voice smooth and seductive. Dev looked at her, his expression unreadable. "It's not really my scene." Alina raised an eyebrow. "Then why are you here?" "I was invited," he said simply. "But I'm not here for the party." Alina's smile faltered for a moment. His words were cryptic, and she wasn't sure if he was playing a game with her or if he was genuinely disinterested. Either way, she was intrigued. "So, what are you here for?" she asked, stepping closer, her voice softening into the tone she knew could melt most men. Dev's eyes flickered, and for the first time, Alina saw something in Emma, an emotion she couldn't quite place. It was as though he could see straight through her, past the layers of charm and seduction, right into the hollow space she had tried so hard to conceal. "I'm here because I was curious," Dev said. "Curious about you." Alina laughed, though it was more nervous than she intended. "Curious about me? I'm not that interesting." "On the contrary," Dev said, his voice calm, "I think you're very interesting. But not for the reasons everyone else does." There was something about his tone, about the way he spoke, that unsettled Alina. She had spent years perfecting her persona, crafting an image of herself that was untouchable, unreachable. But in that moment, standing before Dev, she felt exposed, vulnerable. "I'm not sure what you mean," she said, her voice faltering slightly. Dev studied her for a moment before answering. "You wear masks, Alina. You hide behind them because it's safer than letting anyone see who you really are. But the danger in wearing masks is that sometimes, you forget who you are beneath them." Alina's breath caught in her throat. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. No one had ever seen through her fa-tilde section 8 so clearly, so effortlessly. She felt a surge of anger rise within her. How dare he presume to know her? How dare he speak to her as though he understood the life she had lived, the choices she had made? "You don't know anything about me," she snapped, her voice sharp. Dev didn't flinch. "Maybe not. But I know what it's like to wear masks." Alina opened her mouth to retort, but the words died on her lips. There was something in Dev's eyes, something that told her he wasn't just playing a game. He wasn't like the others. He wasn't trying to seduce her or control her. He was trying to understand her, and that terrified her. For the next few days, Alina couldn't get Dev's words out of her head. She had built her life on the foundation of her beauty, her charm, her ability to make men fall for her. But with Dev, none of that seemed to matter. He wasn't seduced by her looks or her allure. He wasn't interested in playing the game she had mastered so well. Instead, he wanted to see the real ally, not the one she had buried beneath layers of lies and seduction. But who was the real Alina? It was a question she hadn't asked herself in years. She had become so accustomed to playing a role, to being the woman everyone expected her to be, that she had lost sight of who she was beneath it all. And the more she thought about it, the more she realized that Dev was right. She had been wearing masks for so long that she no longer knew who she was without them. One evening, as the city's lights flickered outside her window, Alina found herself sitting alone in her luxurious apartment, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The woman who looked back at her was beautiful, yes, but there was something hollow in her eyes, something that spoke of loneliness, fear, and regret. She had spent so many years seducing men, manipulating them, using them to climb the social ladder. But in the process, she had lost herself. She had become a prisoner of her own seduction, trapped in a cycle of lies and deceit. And now, for the first time, she was forced to confront the emptiness that lay beneath it all. Dev's words echoed in her mind. The danger in wearing masks is that sometimes, you forget who you are beneath them. Alina knew that if she didn't confront the truth, if she didn't face the darkness inside her, she would continue down the same path, a path that led only to more pain, more emptiness. The next day, Alina found herself walking through the streets of Vrthovar, her mind racing. She wasn't sure where she was going, but her feet seemed to carry her toward a familiar place. It wasn't until she reached the edge of the slums, the place where she had grown up, that she realized what she was looking for, a reminder of who she had been before the masks, before the seduction, before the lies. The streets were, as she remembered them, dirty, crowded, and filled with the sounds of people struggling to survive. She had spent years trying to escape this place, trying to distance herself from the poverty and despair that had defined her childhood. But now, standing there in the midst of it all, she realized that this was where she had learned to survive. This was where she had learned to wear her first mask. As she walked through the narrow alleys, memories flooded back, memories of hunger, of fear, of desperation. But there were also memories of resilience, of strength, of determination. She had survived because she had learned to adapt, to play the game. But somewhere along the way, she had lost sight of why she had started playing in the first place. It was here, in the slums of Vrthovar, that Alina had first met a man named Aaron. He had been a kind soul, one of the few people who had shown her genuine care and concern. Aaron had worked at a small shelter for orphans and the homeless, and he had taken Alina under his wing when she was just a child. He had taught her the importance of kindness, of compassion, of helping others even when you had nothing to give. But Aaron had died years ago, leaving Alina alone once again. And in his absence, she had chosen a different path, a path of seduction and manipulation. She had abandoned the lessons Aaron had taught her in favor of a life that promised wealth and power. And now, standing in the place where her journey had begun, Alina realized how far she had strayed from the person she had once been. She sat down on a crumbling stone wall, her mind racing. What had she become, and was there a way to undo the damage she had done? That evening, as the sun set over the city, Alina made a decision. She would stop hiding behind the masks. Stop playing the game of seduction and deceit. It wouldn't be easy. She had built her entire life around those masks, but she knew that if she didn't make a change, she would lose herself completely. The next day, Alina sought out Dev. She found him at a small cafe copyright on the outskirts of the city, sitting alone at a table, sipping a cup of tea. He looked up as she approached, his expression unreadable. "I've been thinking about what you said," Alina began, her voice trembling slightly. "About the masks, you were right." Dev didn't say anything, but his eyes softened as he gestured for her to sit. Alina took a deep breath before continuing. "I've spent so many years hiding behind masks, pretending to be someone I'm not. But I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be the woman who manipulates and seduces her way through life. I want to find out who I really am." Dev smiled, a genuine, warm smile that made Alina feel as though a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "You already know who you are, Alina," he said softly. "You just have to be brave enough to let her out." And in that moment, Alina realized that the most dangerous seduction of all wasn't the one she had wielded over others, it was the one she had used on herself. She had seduced herself into believing that power and wealth were the only things that mattered, that her beauty was her greatest asset. But now, she understood that true strength came from within, from embracing who she was, flaws and all, and daring to live a life of authenticity. It wouldn't be easy. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, with moments of doubt and fear. But for the first time in years, Alina felt a sense of hope, a spark of something real. She wasn't defined by her past, by the choices she had made or the masks she had worn. She could choose a different path, a path of compassion, of kindness, of truth. And that was a seduction far more powerful than any she had ever known. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.